I got it. You gotta get enough on an angle here. Okay. Is that doing anything?
That should be going in.
How could that not be going in? Can we get a bigger bolt to suck it up? Why, hello. Yo, what it iseth? Welcome back to the vlog. Today we're going to install the engine, and I'm going to show you some of the complications that we had. This is kind of a how-to vlog. What we ended up doing is we got a new Power Torque clutch kit, and I'll go ahead and pop that up somewhere in here. I'm going to show you guys step by step how to install a Power Torque clutch kit to a small block Chevy. I'll make sure to include torque specs for the pressure plate. I'll try to be as detailed as I can. Now keep in mind, for those of you guys out there that have a hydraulic throwout bearing, this one uses a mechanical one, so it has the fork, but the majority of what I'm showing you should be helpful in your install of your clutch kit onto your small block Chevy. So one thing I do want to note is that a flywheel for something like a Power Glide and a 3-speed are different. So you have to have a different type of flywheel for a standard setup. So you just need to keep that in mind, those of you out there who are thinking, oh, I can just use my regular flywheel that I use with some type of automatic transmission. No, they're completely different. You've got to have a flywheel that basically works as a rotor for your clutch disc. Because the way that a standard works is that when you let off the clutch, it engages that clutch disc onto the flywheel and essentially makes it to where you almost have like a type of direct drive. This is my first time ever to install a standard that has a fork for the throwout bearing, so it was a learning experience as well. As you'll see in the video, there are 2 places on a small block Chevy where you can install the little ball for the mechanical clutch mechanism, and I actually chose the wrong one. I saw, I just went and looked it up real quick, and I saw that someone had put it in the back hole. Well, we ended up needing to put it in the front one in the block, so in the middle of the engine install, I had to take that apart and put that back together, but you should be able to see that as well. So this is, like I said, it's a how-to vlog in the sense that I will include steps while we install the clutch kit, but I'll also be showing you guys the engine install as well and some of the frustrations that came along with that. There were some things that did not go the way that we had intended, unfortunately. One of which, and you'll see in the video, the input shaft from the transmission would not go in the freaking engine. I don't know what was going on, but we had to end up unbolting the transmission from the bell housing, separating it. Then what we decided to do was install the engine. We hooked it up to the bell housing and then put the transmission back up against the bell housing. Now, you would think, oh, okay, well, maybe if it didn't work by just simply putting the engine in, that would solve the problem. No, it didn't. When we went to go put the transmission up, the input shaft still wouldn't go in the back. It's beyond me why it would not just go into the back of the block. So what I eventually ended up doing, I found some bolts that were longer than the ones that connected the transmission. Keep hitting that. So what ended up happening is I found some bolts that hook up the transmission to the bell housing, but they're longer than the ones that we actually use. So essentially what I did is I just sucked up the transmission to the bell housing and just made them mate, which ended up working. It didn't break an ear off or anything like that. And that would be one thing that I'd caution. If you are going to go down the same path that we went down, absolutely make for certain before you do that, that the input shaft does actually fit into the back of your block. There were a lot of different things that we did in order to make sure that we weren't going to have any problems beforehand. For instance, making sure the splines were correct, making sure that the plastic tool that came with the clutch kit that we got fits into the back of our block, and it did. So there weren't any issues with that. So I don't know if there was a small burr in the back of the block. I have no idea, but that was probably the longest engine install I've ever had, and definitely was just, it just would not go in. I don't know how to describe it, but it just wouldn't. And so that's kind of what we ended up dealing with. But yeah, I hope this is helpful to some of you guys out there who are wanting to install a clutch kit onto your small block Chevy. Honestly, these same principles, even if this is not a Chevy engine for you, a lot of these same principles apply to other makes and models of cars. So this video may still be useful to you. Yeah, but let's go ahead and roll the footage and I'll show you guys what we were dealing with. This is the clutch kit we're about to install so we can get the engine into the truck. Congratulations on the purchase. Okay, great. So I was scared it wasn't going to come out with throwout bearing, so that's good. Yeah, so the pressure plate. So it's going to, what it will do is when you push the clutch pedal in, it releases pressure from the back of the flywheel, and then when you let off, it re-engages into the back of the flywheel to make contact to get you going. This is different than what a lot of people would see today with in terms of how a standard works. So you got that fork opposed to like a hydraulic
throw-out bearing. This actually is a manual clutch setup.
Yeah, which one nice thing about that is you don't have to bleed it.
Right.
So that's really
I'll have
nice.
to set it on.
So, but it looks like that fits, yeah.
It does fit. I want to clean that up a little bit, and then I'll snap it onto the. So I need to clean this up, put a little bit of goodie on here.
Like anti-seize or something?
Or boil bearing grease or something. Just a little bit of a light coat. So this, because this slides back and forth on here, and this turns the whole time. Then when you let off, this is what engages the clutch to push it away.
Exactly. So yeah, just to explain this, so when you push in the pedal, it moves that fork forward to get the springs to release pressure from the clutch.
And that's what
separates
the contact between the flywheel and the clutch. The disc in the center is the sacrificial part. It's like a brake pad.
Yeah.
Then when you let go of them, they come together. It grabs.
Right, but when you're going and it's spinning and you throw it locks up. It's intended to work like a brake pad in that way.
Yeah, it wears.
Yeah, it's intended to wear. So, but that is how it works. Like you would think in your mind that would be the opposite. It would be pulling away, but when you actually step on the pedal, it actually pushes it forward to disengage that. Right on where that throw-out bearing rides and right on that ball where the fork rides, correct?
That's exactly what I'm going to do.
Okay. So what would be a sign for somebody that they got the wrong throw-out bearing and got the wrong equipment that they didn't need?
Well, I mean,
if it just won't fit.
If it won't fit on here, I mean, if it's not like this, it moves back and forth, but it doesn't go up and down. If it's way loose or you can't get it on there, then there'll be some pretty good indicators for you.
Yeah, but that anti-seize is good stuff, man.
Yeah, it is, but man, does it get everywhere.
As you can see right there, we had to put some lubricant on these splines, and the kit actually came with some lubricant, so you need to make sure to do that as well. So that's the old throw-out bearing, you said?
Yeah.
It's got a tight spot in it? Yeah. I can hear it.
Yeah, you hear it. It's just worn out. It's just...
Yeah.
It's just old.
Well, I mean, how long was that in there, you think? I can hear that.
Yeah. Boy, and they'll howl and growl. I don't know. It might have been in there forever for all I know.
I thought the Boyd Coddington of Clovis owned this. Yep. So the reason that we're having to shorten this tube up is because it's not giving us an accurate reading, showing that we're about a quart low. So we're having to cut a little bit with a pipe cutter and cut the top off that, so that way we can get a more accurate reading. So right now we're making sure that pilot bushing is going to fit.
Don't want any problems if you're trying to stab it in there and all of a sudden you don't know if there's a problem here.
Yep. That pilot bushing has got to go on the back of the block. Well, if you stick it in there and it doesn't even work on your tranny, that's going to really suck, because getting it out of the back of this block would be a nightmare. I've tried to do that before. It's got to go in here, back in there, and so we got to go ahead and push that in there so we can get it back on.
Like that.
Help get that in there.
Yep. Probably on the inside of this. Looks like it. And then this has to go. This is going to hit on that bolt up.
You should be able to hear it when it gets in there too. It'll stop moving and it'll make a different sound. Yep, that's it.
There it
yep,
is.
That's
We're
it.
there.
So it actually says on the disc right there, flywheel side, and that's how we know which way this has got to go in order to meet up with the flywheels. So this is the pressure plate right here. The pressure plate disengages the clutch kit and separates it from the flywheel. And when you let off the clutch, re-engages the clutch disc to the flywheel. Yeah, it sandwiches it, which is basically direct drive.
Yeah.
All right.
On that.
So it came with a tool, this tool right here.
This is the alignment tool.
It's the alignment tool. It's a little plastic tool that allows you to keep the clutch disc aligned when you're installing this.
Right.
So it basically emulates what's sticking out of the transmission already.
The input shaft.
Yeah, the input shaft.
Flywheel sides, we know that goes in. Which kind of makes sense because this kind of sticks out. It probably would cause you grief.
Yeah, so you stick that in and okay.
So that would go in just like that. That's where they will be riding.
Okay.
And this spins. This is spinning when it's disengaged. This is just kind of floating.
Yep.
And then when you let go of the springs, it
slap. Well, you mean when you let off the clutch pedal?
Yeah, then
it lets that fork go.
Those fingers, what they do when you push the fingers, it actually pushes. It releases the pressure on that
exactly.
springs there. So.
We have this clutch ball, which we think that this needs to be installed in this back hole, but you've got two different holes that you can. Yeah, you got two different holes you can use, and I think it's this one. So we're gonna do that. That might be trial and error, so we'll see. Okay, so there's just a lot of moving pieces when you're putting an engine in with a standard. So this, I don't know if you guys can see it super well. Let me see if I can get in there a little better. Okay, so you've got to hook this up with the fork. And so there's a ball, and again, I'm hoping that we picked the right hole. So there's a ball that this hooks to for the clutch pedal, if you can see it. Okay, so let me see if I can get you in there a little better. But yeah, so there's this hole, and I hope we chose the right one by putting that one right there. So this has got to go in here. You've got to hook that up right there. You've got to hook it to the ball, and you've also got to hook it to this rod right here. Let me see if I can get you guys a better view of it. So this rod back here, where the clutch pedal is, you've got to hook it into the side of here. You got to hook it right here. So you've got three things you got to play with before you even get it hooked up to the tranny where the input shaft is. So those are the things we've got hooked up now, and I'm just hoping we chose the right spot for that ball. I think so. Do it again.
You see it? I mean, it is barely releasing.
Oh man. Okay, so that took about an hour and a half longer than it should have.
Right.
But we had to end up taking the tranny out, and we had to bolt the bell housing up separately to the motor because we could not get the input shaft to go into the block. We don't know why. The test input shaft fits, everything fit. We finally just had to get the tranny and then bolt it up, get longer bolts than we actually had, and sucked up the tranny to the engine to get it to go into place correctly. Now everything's working, but man, that was such a pain. All right, that pretty much does it for us today. Thank you so much for watching. I will try to have another video up next week. We got our electrical kit from American Auto Wire. We need to get it installed, get the truck going now that we've got the engine in. So we've also got various other things we got to do. We got to get the interior in. We've got to get stereo in. We've got to get the fuel line run. We've got, I mean, there's a lot of just odds and ends. Another thing that I may have not mentioned is that we've left everything loose on the truck because we don't want to, at the end of the build, think that we've tightened certain things and then we, not do them and end up with something catastrophic like maybe a loose ball joint and it comes apart and the spindle comes off. That would be pretty awful. So I've heard of that happening before. Yeah, but anyway, if you like what you're seeing so far, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, and I'll see you guys next week. Peace.